Walden might be one of the gentlest games you've ever played. It's a first-person, open-world exploration game, and it's about a 19th century philosopher. It is, to be frank, very strange. Let's find out some more. Walden is essentially a gaming version of Henry David Thoreau's most famous book of the same name, published in 1854. The game, like the book, is a kind of a journal of the author's time, living self-sufficiently near Walden Pond on the outskirts of Concord, Massachusetts. In gamey game terms, it's a first-person open-world exploration and survival game, but this doesn't really do the game justice. It's also a work of philosophy in the sense that it imparts a particularly thoughtful view of the world and of living. We'll get back to talking about Thoreau and his work a little bit later, but first of all, let's talk about what you actually do in this game. And surprisingly, there's quite a lot of stuff that you have to get along with. For example, you need to stay alive. It's a survival game, but there aren't any zombies jumping out from behind the trees or vicious animals looking to tear you apart. You need to fish in order to... You'll see that little red blob in the bottom left-hand corner. That's your food meter. And if you don't eat every day, then you'll become ill. And I didn't actually die at any point when I played it, but that's because I carried on eating. So you have to do some fishing. You also have to, especially in the summer months, this game, by the way, goes all through the different seasons, and obviously in the winter it's a lot more difficult to forage than it is in the summer. For example, in the summertime where the game starts, it's quite easy to find berries that'll keep you going at least for a short time. And as you can see there, if you right click on anything, any plant that you see, you can find out a little bit about it, a little bit of what Thoreau had to say about it, and you can help yourself to any of the goods of nature. There are also other jobs to be done, such as splitting wood for fuel in order to stay alive. And it's interesting that part of what Thoreau talked about in his book was the necessities of life, in that you need to stay warm, you need to stay sheltered, you need to stay fed, and these are the things that you have to play during the game. A lot of it is simply looking around and enjoying the fruits and the bounties of nature. Thoreau was in love with nature, and he spent a good deal of his time with nature, exploring it, appreciating it, writing about it, and you'll hear what he has to say. This is a part of the game where you can get into a boat and move from one side of the pond to another, and it's really a fast travel device in case you don't want to walk. There's another job that you have to do, and I felt that it would be a good idea to do this in the late summer and early fall, which is to plant a bean field, something that Thoreau also did. I guess he was really into his beans. I'm not a huge fan myself, but I do like to stay alive, and so you have to get out into your little bean patch and weed it and plant beans before the winter chill comes. Another job you need to do early in the game, at least, is to build your hut. Thoreau spent about $85 in today's money on timber and tools, and he went out and he built his own hut, and you have to do the same. But after it's built, it's really just a question of maintenance. But those are the doing parts of the game. It is also about seeing and listening and observing. As you go through the game, you find these arrowheads.
To anticipate, not the sunrise and the dawn merely, but, if possible, nature herself. How many mornings, summer and winter, before yet any neighbor was stirring about his business, have I been about mine?
And here we come to an old wrecked boat, which we learn about from picking up another arrowhead.
One day, I came upon the moldering wreck of a boat, the sides gone, and hardly more than the impression of its flat bottom left amid the rushes. Yet its model was sharply defined, as if it were a large decayed pad with its veins. It was as impressive a wreck as one could imagine on the seashore, and had as good a moral.
So Walden lovingly recreates the world of Thoreau. In 1845, he moved from his comfortable home into that cabin in the woods that we saw earlier. He was seeking to find a meaningful life, and he spent 2 years fishing and cultivating beans and otherwise living off the land. We see here some of the things he would have seen at that time, such as ice that was packed away for the summer. He also spends time with other people. Here is his friend and mentor, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who sends him on little chores that can help him to earn money, for example. The game tries to follow some of the events that occurred during Thoreau's time, which included spending a night in jail. He refused to pay his taxes as a protest against the Mexican-American War, and was only let out because a kindly aunt paid those taxes for him against his wishes. Thoreau was a thinker, but also he was a writer and an activist. And he was someone, I think, who is relevant today in some of the concerns that we have. Here he is visiting Concord, which you can do at any time. There's a store there where you can go and buy much needed things. But just to go back to my earlier point, Thoreau felt that life had become too complicated. This was a time of great technological change. In those days it was the railroad and the telegraph. But we still have a great technological change today and a sense of loss. I think what he had to say about a simplicity of life has some resonance today, and that's certainly the view of the people who are making this game, which is the University of Southern California's Game Innovation Lab, led by Tracy Fullerton. Walden is coming out for PC and Mac in July, but you can get an early version now at waldengame.com. You can also find out more from me, Colin Campbell, at Polygon.com.